That is a beautiful looking sketch and car, to say the least. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. Of course, this video is all about the Mazda 3, and we're gonna talk about its design. We're also going to talk about the Nagare style of Mazda styling, which they had in the mid 2000s to the late 2000s, and also the new style of Mazda called Kodo philosophy, and what the differences are and how that turned into the design language that we see today. When the concept of the Mazda 3 first came out, it was called the Mazda Kai, and it received mixed feelings about the concept. Some people loved it, other people did not like it that much, and I can see why. It's a new way of designing cars with this new Kodo philosophy that Mazda has, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about the Mazda 3 specifically, and we're going to redesign it. I'm not sure if I want to call it redesign it, but we're going to modify it, because I know exactly what people mean when they say that the Mazda 3 looks a bit off, it looks a bit strange, unusual, and all these words. That's because it is unusual. It's a new design language that Mazda is adding to the Mazda 3 as well as the rest of the lineup. So what we're going to do with this Mazda 3 is we're going to take it, I'm going to show you exactly how to, if you want to call it, fix it. But in my opinion, it's going to ruin it, because we're ruining the Kodo philosophy of Mazda if we do this change. But just for the sake of making this change and showing you what is off with this Mazda 3, we're going to make that little change at the end of this video. But now, let's jump back in history and let me talk about the Nagare concept styling that Mazda had in the mid 2000s to late 2000s, and the 5 different concepts that were released during that time. Nagare is a series of designs made by designer Franz von Holzhausen and Lawrence van den Acker for Mazda between 2005 and 2008. The Nagare design lineup was intended as a showcase of what Mazda cars may look like in 2020, and was primarily influenced by wind and flow. Although Mazda evolved Nagare into the Kodo theme with the Shinari concept in 2011, the Nagare dynasty remains a glimpse into a world where Mazda designers were set free to push boundaries. There were no limits or restrictions. Mazda created 5 stunning concepts based on the Nagare language. The first one takes the same name as the series itself, the Mazda Nagare. The car's body style is based on a sports car. The design has the look of a long wheelbase hatchback. The interior is very irregular, with the driver placed front and center under the roof's highest point, and 3 additional passengers seated behind in a wrap-around lounge. The doors lift upwards while also pushing out sideways. Here are a few words by designer von Holzhausen about the Nagare styling. We began by studying motion and the effect it has on natural surroundings, how wind shapes sands in the desert, how water moves across the ocean floor, and the look of lava flowing down a mountainside. Natural motion registers an impression in your brain, and that's what we hope to capture with the new Nagare surface design language. The Mazda Ryuga is the second vehicle built under the Nagare series. The Ryuga name means a gracious flow, referencing the purpose of the design. The Mazda Hakaze is the third car to be featured in the series. The name stands for leaf wind and is based on a crossover body style. Mazda said that this car was the most production-ready vehicle in the Nagare lineup. The Mazda Taiki is the 4th vehicle featured in the series, and the name Taiki means atmosphere, which is fitting, noting the car's atmospheric-like top. The rear wheels are set out from the body, and an all-glass canopy goes around the driver and the passenger. The 5th car in this series is probably also the most popular one, and that is the Mazda Furai. The name Furai is also a reference to the wind and flow Nagara design inspiration, which means sound of the wind. The car wears the number 55 to give tribute to the Mazda 787B. The Furai, basically the poster boy of Nagara, the last and most eye-dropping vehicle to be born of that philosophy. Created as a concept to show what a race car for the road might look like, it was the brainchild of a design department deeply proud of its motorsport heritage and the most extreme concept of its generation. It won global acclaim, but was more than that. The Furai was possibly the defining concept car of its era. Unfortunately, the only existing Furai caught fire and burned to the ground during a photo shoot with Top Gear magazine in 2008. The design styling of the Nagara can be seen in some of the production cars of Mazda, such as the Mazda 5, for example. If we look at the side of the Mazda 5, we can see some of that flowing lines that they had going back in mid to late 2000s. But in 2011, the Nagara design philosophy was replaced with the Kodo design series and the concept car Mazda Shinari. When the Nagara design philosophy had its peak, I was a design student and I just loved every single one of these concept cars because they look so different and they really look like they have a nice flow to it. And one interesting fact is that one of the big influences to this styling, Franz von Holzhausen, is now the chief designer of Tesla Motors and responsible for the Tesla Model S, the 3 and the X. And it's interesting to see if you can see some design features in the Tesla cars that came from this Nagara philosophy. In recent years, with every new and redesigned Mazda, we hear about their revolutionary new design language used to create the cars, and they named it the Kodo design philosophy. When Lawrence van den Akker left the company, taking his controversial Nagara design language with him, his successor wanted to move Mazda's design approach from serene to more provocative. While the Nagara focused on a flow of wind and water in nature, the head of Mazda Global Design, Ikuo Maeda, had an idea to portray the pent-up energy of an animal about to pounce. Hence, Kodo is Japanese for soul of motion. At its core, Kodo is a depiction of potential energy in stationary forms, such as cars. The inspiration was the stance of a powerful animal waiting to pounce or a sword ready to strike in the ancient Japanese martial arts of Kendo. Mazda themselves have 3 keywords which describe Kodo: speed, tense, and alluring. The design language aims to breathe life and art into vehicle design, transferring the heart and soul of the artist into the machine. The model is poised with the power in its rear rather than leaning forward. The introduction of Kodo, Soul of Motion, was at the 2010 Paris Motor Show. The vision was exemplified in the Shinari concept, a 4-door premium sports coupe. The first production vehicle to incorporate the redesign was the 2010 CX-5. Since then, Kodo has remained the backbone of Mazda's model designs, influencing many vehicles in the past years, such as the new Mazda 3. Well, here we are. What do we have here? We have the 2017 Mazda 3 down here. This is actually, it might have went up to 18. I'm not sure. This is the 2019 right there. 17/18, let's say that. So let's explore here. I'm gonna ask you, what do you see? What is the big difference that's missing here? What is it that makes the Mazda 3 2019? What makes it look so unusual? It's a few things, but it's one major thing, and that is the lack of a shoulder line. And since it doesn't have a shoulder line here, that it's part of this Kodo philosophy. That's exactly what Mazda is looking for. And to me, I think it looks stunning. I love this hatchback. It's such a clean and, of course, unusual design. But, you know, unusual doesn't necessarily have to mean bad looking. It just means that it's something new. We're not used to the way it looks, but if we give it time, if it is a good design and we give it time, it's going to start to look better and better with age. That's exactly what this Mazda does. So let's see what happens though if we ruin it with adding a shoulder line to it. Probably not gonna look, it's probably gonna look good, or it's gonna look very normal and boring, but let's just add it here for the sake of making it into a more normal car that people are used to seeing. Using the shade from this car right here, it's pretty much the same color. The bottom one is a little bit more to the pink side. And that goes into this line right here, for example. I'm not gonna add this line right here. I think that's overkill. But yeah, this is what it would look like if they, you know, push the brake on the Kodo design philosophy. And to me now it looks like any other hatchback. The originality of this car is all gone because we added a shoulder line and made it into any other car that we can think of. And it doesn't have any uniqueness about it at all. We might want to actually raise it up just a little bit like this. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, something like that. That's a mistake. I don't want that there. But I just wanted to show you that that is what is missing from the C-pillar. Because the C-pillar seems to be the obvious issue that people have with it. Because it looks too thick. I totally get that. Because without this, without the line there, it is a fat C-pillar. But that doesn't mean that it's ugly. It just means that it's different. And give it a year or 2 years or something like that. And this is going to be one of these cars that just gets better and better looking with age. But just for the heck of it, let's just add some wheels to this. I want to see if I was buying a Mazda 3 today, what kind of wheels would I put on this? I think you can make this into a really cool looking car if you just lower it tiny bit and add some cool wheels to it. So let's see what kind of wheels we can find here. What do we want? I want black wheels. Black wheels. Let's just put that in and see what comes up here. Maybe we get lucky and get one in the correct perspective and everything from the get-go. Let's do like this. Black wheels on car. So it's kind of almost a straight side view with a slight tint to the front. This is what I do when I look for cars, by the way. I just try to find the right perspective and the right type of wheels that I'm looking for. And then try to get it in the right perspective in Photoshop. It's pretty easy, it's not that hard. Alright guys, we got ourselves some Boston wheels here. Let's see if we can make them fit to this Mazda 3 so we can get it right in perspective. Oh yeah, looks cool. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and tune this Mazda 3. Put some wings on it, some spoilers, some side skirts, front lip or stuff like that, and just for fun and just to see how this turns out. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm not sure about this rear spoiler here. I'm trying to figure out how to make it, fit into the design of the stylish design of the Mazda 3, but to me it just doesn't seem to come together very well. I might just skip this rear spoiler up here, or I might keep working on it. Not sure yet. I'm probably going to keep working on it just for a little bit longer. to see if I can actually make it fit into this design. But for now, it doesn't look good. So we're gonna have to explore for a while, and maybe I'll keep it if I come up with a solution for how to integrate it in the design of this, or I just delete it. We'll have to wait and see. You know what, guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this piece here. We tried, didn't work out, so I'm just gonna keep the stock wing like that. Honestly, I think this looks a lot better. It flows better with the overall design of this car. It doesn't need to have all these stuff that I'm adding to it right now. This is just for fun for me to see what it would look like. But it's just for fun. Some of these details just are not going to work with the design, such as that top spoiler up there. But I'm almost done with this. Just gonna add. I'm just going to define these pieces that I added on the car. Add some shading, some highlights, and stuff like that onto it. And once we've done that, we're pretty much done with this little tweak of the Mazda 3. You could, I guess, think of this as a Mazda 3 Speed, which they're not making anymore. Kind of sad. I wish they would, because this would make a beautiful Mazda 3 Speed. But one can dream. So let's finish this up, and then I'll come back at the end of this video. Well, I think that's enough of modifying this beauty. We really don't need to. We really don't have to modify it at all. I think it's beautiful as it is. But you know, I can't help myself whenever I have this a clean side view like this in front of me. I kind of have to do just a little bit of touch-ups and modify it to close to the style that I would have this car in. I would definitely switch up the wheels and probably just lower it a little bit, and that would be it for this Mazda 3, since it's already such a beautiful looking car. But that's about it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new about the philosophies that goes behind Mazda's design and why they do designs the way they do. They started with a Nagata, which is more of a flow, as we talked about earlier, and then it became very, very simplistic, less lines and more focus on the proportions, especially moving the volumes of the car to the back to have this forward propulsion stance. It leans forward with the power in the back, and then you have the long hood leaning forward. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. I really appreciate it. If you want to learn how to sketch cars, products, stuff like that, click the link below in the description. I have my courses there. I have my Patreon there, where you can become a patron, I think it's called. I'm not sure. And you can submit whatever car you want designed. It can even be your own car. You can submit it there if you want to. I'll see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day.